The ship shook violently as another explosion rocked the engine room. Kira pressed her back against the cold metal wall, her crystalline skin reflecting the red warning lights that flashed throughout the corridors. The Astral Dawn was dying, and she knew it. "Engine 3 is gone," shouted Valix from the bridge. His voice carried through the ship's communication system, filled with panic that Kira had never heard from their captain before. "We're losing power to the navigation systems." Kira ran through the tilting hallways toward the engine room. Her people, the Valerians, were not built for running. Their bodies were delicate, made of living crystal that grew slowly over their long lives. But fear gave her speed as she stumbled through the smoke-filled corridors. The Astral Dawn was a science ship. They studied stars and planets, mapping the galaxy for the Valerian collective. Kira was the youngest engineer on board, only 300 years old. She had dreamed of this mission for decades, hoping to discover new worlds that might welcome her peaceful people. Now that dream was turning into a nightmare. "The star's magnetic field is stronger than we calculated," Dr. Maros called from his station. "It's pulling apart our crystal matrix." Kira reached the engine room and saw the damage. The ship's power source was a living crystal, grown over 50 years in the gardens of their homeworld. It pulsed with soft blue light, but now that light was flickering. Cracks ran across its surface like spider webs. "We need to land," she said into her communicator. "The crystal is breaking apart. If it fails completely, we'll lose life support." "Landing where?" Captain Valix's voice was tight with stress. "The only planet in this system looks hostile. The atmosphere readings show toxic storms." Kira looked at the readings on her screen. The planet below them was a nightmare world. The air was poisonous to most life forms. Huge storms moved across the surface, carrying deadly radiation. The temperature changed from freezing cold to burning hot within hours. "We don't have a choice," she said. "If we stay in space, we die. If we land, maybe some of us live." The decision was made quickly. Captain Valix ordered everyone to the emergency stations. Kira strapped herself into a safety harness in the medical bay, surrounded by the ship's healing crystals. If anyone survived the crash, they would need medical help. The descent was horrible. The ship spun out of control as it fell through the planet's atmosphere. Kira could hear metal tearing and crystal shattering. The beautiful singing of their ship's crystal heart became a painful scream as it broke apart. The crash threw Kira against the wall so hard that her crystal skin cracked. Pain shot through her body as she fell to the floor. Around her, the medical crystals had shattered into thousands of pieces. The healing songs they sang were now silent. When the ship finally stopped moving, everything was quiet except for the hiss of escaping air. Kira tried to stand, but her left leg wouldn't work properly. A large crack ran down her thigh, leaking the glowing fluid that flowed through Valerian bodies instead of blood. "Captain?" she called out. No answer came through the broken communication system. She crawled through the damaged medical bay to the door. It was stuck, bent by the crash. Using all her strength, she managed to push it open enough to squeeze through. The hallway beyond was dark and filled with debris. The emergency lights were dead. Only the faint glow from her own crystal skin provided any light. She made her way slowly toward the bridge, calling for her crewmates. No one answered. She found Captain Valix first. He was trapped under a fallen beam, his crystal form dark and still. Valerians didn't die the same way other species did. When they died, their crystal bodies stopped glowing and became as cold as stone. Dr. Maros was in his laboratory, crushed by his own equipment. The pilot, Janara, was still at her station, but half her crystal body had shattered. One by one, Kira found all 11 of her crewmates. All dead. She was alone. The ship's computer was barely working, running on backup power that wouldn't last long. Kira tried to send a distress signal, but the communication array was destroyed. The navigation computer showed their location, but it was far from any known shipping routes. No one would come looking for them here. Outside, she could hear the wind howling. Through a cracked window, she saw a landscape of twisted rocks and poisonous fog. Lightning flashed in the distance, and she could smell the toxic air seeping through the ship's damaged hull. Kira returned to the medical bay. It was the most protected part of the ship, and the life support there was still partly working. She found an emergency medical pod that was still functional. It could keep her alive for a while, maybe a few weeks if she was careful with the power. She climbed into the pod and activated its systems. The pod's crystal matrix began to sing softly, trying to heal her damaged leg and the cracks in her skin. But without the ship's main power crystal, the healing was slow and weak. As the days passed, Kira watched the ship's systems fail one by one. The lights went out first, then the air recycling system began to struggle. She could feel the ship growing colder as the heating system lost power. She recorded messages in the ship's log, hoping that someday her people would find the wreckage and learn what happened to the Astral Dawn. She told them about the mission, about the star's unexpected magnetic field, about how her crewmates had died. "I am the last," she said into the recorder on her 10th day alone. "The medical pod is keeping me alive, but the power is almost gone. I can feel my crystal body starting to fade. Soon I will join my crewmates in the quiet darkness." Outside, the storms raged on. Lightning struck the ship several times, shaking her medical pod. Strange creatures howled in the distance, sounds unlike anything in the galaxy. This planet was truly hostile to all life. Kira closed her eyes and listened to the fading song of her medical pod. Her people believed that when Valerians died, their consciousness joined with the great crystal networks of their homeworld. She hoped it was true. She hoped she would see her crewmates again and her family in that place of eternal light and song. The pod's power indicator showed only a few hours remaining. After that, she would be alone with the darkness and the poisonous air. She was not afraid. Death was simply another journey, and she had lived a good life among the stars. But sometimes in her dreams she imagined rescue ships finding her before it was too late. She imagined voices calling her name, hands pulling her from the dying pod, taking her away from this horrible place. They were only dreams, she knew, but they helped her sleep as the darkness grew deeper around her. Captain G1 stared at the readings on her ship's scanner. The Soul's Pride had been mapping this system for 3 days, and this was the first interesting thing they had found. A faint energy signature was coming from the third planet, barely visible against the background radiation. "What do you think, Somin?" G1 asked her chief engineer. "Could be a crashed ship?" Somin adjusted the scanner settings and frowned. "The energy pattern is strange. Not like anything I've seen before. It's very weak, almost gone." Dr. Hyunwoo looked up from his medical station. "If it's a ship and if there are survivors, they won't last much longer. That planet is toxic to most life forms." Jiwon made her decision quickly. "We're going down to investigate. Prepare the shuttle." Her crew of 25 was busy mapping new systems for human colony ships. They were already behind schedule, and Earth Command would not be happy about delays. But Jiwon had been a rescue pilot before becoming an exploration captain. She could not ignore a possible distress signal. "Captain," called Do-Yun from the science station, "the planet's atmosphere is poisonous. Radiation levels are high. The storms down there could damage our shuttle." "We'll take precautions," Jiwon said. "Hyunwoo, pack emergency medical supplies for unknown species. Salmon, modify the shuttle's shields for the radiation. Do-Hyun, bring your xenobiology kit." 2 hours later, their shuttle broke through the planet's cloudy atmosphere. The surface below was a wasteland of twisted rock and poisonous fog. Lightning flashed constantly in the green-tinted sky. It was the kind of place where nothing should be able to live. "Energy source is 2 kilometers ahead," Soman reported. "The signal is getting weaker." They found the crash site in a valley between 2 rocky hills. The ship was unlike anything in their databases. It was made of some kind of crystal material that still glowed faintly despite obvious damage. The design was beautiful but alien, with flowing curves instead of the sharp angles human ships used. "I've never seen anything like this," Do-Hyun said as they landed nearby. "The construction material appears to be organic crystal. Living crystal, maybe." They put on protective suits and left the shuttle. The crashed ship was larger than it had looked from the air, about the size of a human science vessel. But it was clearly dead. Most of its crystal surface was dark and cracked. "Life signs?" Jiwon asked. Hyunwoo checked his scanner. "Very faint. Coming from inside the ship. Whatever it is, it's barely alive." They found an opening in the ship's hull and climbed inside. Their flashlights revealed corridors that seemed grown rather than built. Everything was made of the same crystal material, now dark and silent. "This way," Hyunwoo said, following his medical scanner. "The life signs are getting stronger." They found her in what appeared to be a medical bay. She was inside a pod made of crystal, barely glowing with internal light. Kira's body was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin was translucent crystal that flickered with faint blue light. Cracks ran across her left leg and arm like breaks in expensive glass. "She's alive," Hyunwoo whispered, "but just barely. The pod is some kind of life support system, but it's almost out of power. Ji-won stared at the alien woman. She had never seen anything so beautiful or so fragile. Can we move her? The pod is keeping her alive, Hyunwoo said. If we take her out of it without understanding her biology, she'll die. Then we bring the pod, Ji-won decided. Salmon, can our shuttle power this thing? Someone examined the crystal pod carefully. I think so. The power connections are different, but I can modify our systems. It might take a few hours. Do it, Ji-won ordered. Do-hyun, see what you can learn about her species from the ship's computers. Hyunwoo, prepare the medical bay for a completely unknown life form. While Somin worked on the power connections, Do-hyun explored the ship. He found the bodies of the other crew members, all the same crystal species as the survivor. Their bodies had gone dark and cold. 12 crew members, he reported, all dead except for our survivor. The ship appears to be a science vessel. I found what might be their computer core, but I can't read their language. Hyunwoo studied the alien woman in her pod. Her breathing was very slow, and her body temperature was much lower than human normal. I think she's in some kind of hibernation state. The pod is keeping her alive, but she's slowly dying. It took 4 hours for Somin to connect the pod to their shuttle's power systems. When she activated the connection, the pod's glow became stronger. The alien woman's breathing improved slightly. We need to get her to the ship's medical bay, Hyunwoo said. I can learn more about her biology there. The trip back to the Soul's Pride was tense. Ji-won kept checking with Hyunwoo about their passenger's condition. The alien woman remained unconscious, but her vital signs were stable. Once aboard the ship, they moved the pod to the medical bay. Hyunwoo began running every scan he could think of. The results were fascinating and confusing. Her body is silicon-based instead of carbon-based, he reported to Ji-won. She has a circulatory system, but instead of blood, she has some kind of liquid crystal flowing through crystalline tubes. Her brain activity is very low, but I think that might be normal for her species during hibernation. Can you help her? Ji-won asked. I don't know, Hyunwoo admitted. Her biology is completely different from anything I've studied. But I'll try. She's obviously intelligent, and she's been alone on that planet for who knows how long. Do-hyun had been studying the data from the alien ship. I think I understand what happened. Their ship's power crystal was damaged by the planet's magnetic field. Without power, their life support failed. She was the only one who made it to an emergency pod. How long was she down there? Somin asked. Based on the decay of the ship's systems, I'd guess about 3 months, Do-hyun said. She's been slowly dying for 3 months. Ji-won felt angry at the thought. 3 months alone on a hostile planet, watching her friends die, slowly dying herself. No one deserved that fate. Whatever it takes, she told Hyunwoo. Save her. Over the next few days, Hyunwoo worked constantly to understand the alien's biology. He discovered that her species healed differently from humans. They responded to certain sound frequencies, specific wavelengths of light, and something he could only describe as harmonic resonance. Somin helped by modifying the medical bay's equipment. They changed the lights to match the frequencies that seemed to help the alien heal. They adjusted the sound systems to produce the harmonic patterns that made her body glow brighter. Slowly, very slowly, the alien woman began to improve. The cracks in her skin started to close. Her breathing became stronger. The blue light under her crystal skin grew brighter. I think she's going to wake up soon, Hyunwoo told Ji-won on the 5th day. Her brain activity is increasing. What do we do when she wakes up? Somin asked. She's going to be terrified. She doesn't know us. She doesn't even know we're friendly. We'll figure it out, Ji-won said. We saved her life. That has to count for something. But privately, Ji-won worried. They had no idea what this alien species was like. Were they peaceful? Aggressive? Would she see humans as saviors or captors? And what would Earth Command say when they learned that the Soul's Pride had picked up an unknown alien? Those were problems for later. Right now, a living being was fighting for her life in their medical bay. Ji-won had made the right choice in saving her. Whatever came next, they would deal with it. On the 7th day, the alien woman's eyes opened. They were like cut diamonds, clear and bright, reflecting the medical bay's lights. She looked around in confusion, then focused on Hyunwoo, who was checking her pod systems. She tried to speak, but only made soft, crystal-like sounds. Her species apparently communicated differently than humans, but her eyes were intelligent and aware. She was trying to understand where she was and what had happened to her. Jiwan entered the medical bay and approached the pod slowly, hands visible and empty. The alien woman watched her carefully but didn't seem afraid. If anything, she looked curious. "Hello," Jiwan said softly. "We found you on the planet. You're safe now." The alien woman couldn't understand the words, but perhaps she understood the tone. Her crystal body glowed a little brighter, and she made soft musical sounds that might have been her way of speaking. First contact had begun. Kira had never seen creatures like these before. They stood on two legs like her people, but their skin was soft and warm. Not crystal. They made sounds with their mouths that seemed to be language, but she could not understand them. The one with the kind eyes visited her most often. This one wore white clothing and seemed to be some kind of healer. He would check the machines around her pod and make soft sounds that felt reassuring. Kira began to think of him as the gentle one. Another creature had longer hair and seemed to understand the machines better than the others. This one would adjust the lights and sounds around her pod, making them more comfortable. Kira called this one the smart one. The tallest one appeared to be their leader. She came to visit every day, always moving slowly and keeping her hands where Kira could see them. This one had intelligent eyes and a calm manner. Kira thought of her as the protector. The fourth one was always curious, always asking questions and studying things. He brought strange devices that hummed and beeped, scanning Kira's pod. She called him the Seeker. For the first few days, Kira was too weak to do more than watch them. The healing pod was working better now, powered by their ship's energy. She could feel her crystal body slowly repairing itself. The cracks in her skin were closing and the liquid light that flowed through her was becoming brighter. But she was confused. Why were these strange creatures helping her? In her experience with other species, strangers usually wanted something in return for help. They would demand information or technology, or they would simply take what they wanted by force. But these creatures asked for nothing. They simply helped. On the fifth day, Kira felt strong enough to try communicating. When the gentle one came to check on her, she made the crystal singing sounds that her people used for greeting. He looked excited and called for the others. The Seeker brought a device that made lights and sounds. He seemed to be trying to understand her language. Kira sang simple words. I, you, help, thank. The device recorded these sounds and tried to match them with symbols. Progress was slow, but gradually they began to understand each other. Kira learned that their words for help and friend sounded gentle and warm. She taught them that her people's word for gratitude was a complex song that took several minutes to sing properly. The smart one, whose name was Soman, discovered that Kira's body responded to specific sound frequencies. When she played certain musical tones, Kira's crystal skin would glow brighter and her healing would speed up. Samin spent hours adjusting the medical-based sound systems to help Kira recover faster. Music helps you heal? Soman asked through their improving translation device. Yes, Kira replied. My people are crystal. Crystal sings. When crystal sings correctly, it grows strong. This fascinated the Seeker, who was called Do-hyun. He studied how Kira's body worked, always asking permission before scanning her with his devices. He was amazed by her silicon-based biology and the liquid light that flowed through her crystal veins. Your people must be very advanced, Do-hyun said. Living crystal technology is beyond our understanding. Kira was surprised by his respectful tone. Most species she had heard about would demand to know how crystal technology worked. They would want to copy it or steal it. But Do-hyun only wanted to understand it well enough to help her heal. The gentle one, Hyunwoo, was equally respectful. He learned that Kira's people had a telepathic network that connected all their minds. The crash had damaged her telepathic abilities, leaving her feeling isolated and alone in a way that was difficult to explain. Like being deaf and blind at the same time, she tried to explain. I cannot hear the songs of my people, cannot feel their thoughts. I am cut off from the great harmony. Hyunwoo worked carefully to heal the damage to her telepathic centers. He could not restore her connection to her distant people, but he helped reduce the pain of the isolation. His gentle touch and kind manner reminded her that she was not truly alone. The protector, Captain Jiwon, visited every day. She would sit beside Kira's pod and talk about her own people, the humans. She told stories about Earth, a blue world covered with water and green plants. She spoke of human values, Helping others, protecting the weak, exploring the galaxy to make friends rather than conquests. Why do you help me? Kira asked one day. I am not your kind. I cannot give you anything valuable. Why do you risk your mission and your safety for a stranger? Jiwon thought for a moment before answering. Because you needed help. Because you were alone and dying. Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing? Kira was confused. Right for whom? What do you gain? We don't gain anything, Jiwon said. We help because someone needed help. That's enough reason. This concept was difficult for Kira to understand. Her people were peaceful, but they were also cautious. They helped their own kind without question, but strangers were different. Strangers might be dangerous. Most species in the galaxy thought the same way, but humans seemed to be different. As the days passed, Kira observed their behavior. When one of their crew members was injured in a minor accident, everyone stopped what they were doing to help. They shared their food with each other without being asked. They worked together without fighting or competing. Your people are strange, Kira told Jiwon one day. Strange how? Jiwon asked. You are strong, but you do not take from the weak. You have weapons, but you do not threaten others. You could have left me to die, but instead you saved me. Most species are not like this. Most species, you know, Jiwon corrected. Maybe you've just met the wrong ones. As her strength returned, Kira was able to leave the healing pod for short periods. The humans had prepared a special room for her, with lighting and sound frequencies that felt comfortable. They had even played recordings of crystal music that Soman had created, trying to replicate the songs of Kira's people. Walking through their ship, Kira was impressed by what she saw. The humans were clearly intelligent and capable. Their technology was different from her people's, but it was effective and well-designed. More importantly, she saw how they treated each other. There was no fear aboard their ship. Crew members spoke freely to their captain without worry about punishment. They helped each other without being ordered to do so. They laughed and joked together like family. You are not like other species, Kira told Hyunwoo as he checked her healing progress. How so? He asked. Other species I have heard about, they rule through fear. The strong take from the weak. Leaders demand obedience, but your people choose to follow your captain because they trust her. You help each other because you want to, not because you have to. Hyunwoo smiled. Not all humans are like that. We have our problems too. But yes, we try to be better than our worst impulses. After 2 weeks aboard the human ship, Kira was almost fully healed. Her crystal skin was bright and clear again. The liquid light flowed properly through her body. Her telepathic abilities were still damaged, but the constant pain was gone. She found herself reluctant to think about leaving. These humans had saved her life and asked for nothing in return. They had shown her kindness that she had never experienced from strangers. The thought of returning to the dangerous galaxy, where most species saw her people as either threats or opportunities, filled her with dread. But she could not stay forever. Her people needed to know what had happened to the Astral Dawn, and the humans had their own mission to complete. She was already delaying their work by being here. What will happen to me? She asked Jiwon one evening. Where will you take me? Jiwon looked uncomfortable. We'll take you to the nearest Federation station. They have diplomatic procedures for first contact situations. The Federation, Kira said softly. She had heard of the Galactic Federation, a collection of species that governed most of known space. Her people had deliberately avoided contact with them because the Federation was dominated by aggressive, warlike species. You don't sound happy about that, Jiwon observed. The Federation species are not kind like humans, Kira said. They will want to know about my people. They will want our technology, our location. They will not simply let me go home, Jiwon frowned. The Federation has rules about peaceful contact. They can't just imprison you, can't they? Kira asked. I am one individual of an unknown species. Who will speak for me? Who will protect me from their questions and demands? For the first time since her rescue, Kira felt afraid again. She had been saved from death on a hostile planet, only to face a different kind of danger among the stars. The message from Admiral Minho came 3 days later. Jiwon read it twice before calling her senior officers to the conference room. The words on the screen made her stomach tighten with worry. Priority 1, orders. Proceed immediately to Federation Station Tau 7. Transfer alien passenger to Federation Diplomatic Corps for processing. Any delay in compliance will result in formal disciplinary action. Soman was the first to speak when Jiwon shared the message. They want us to hand her over to the Federation. That's what the orders say, Jiwon replied, though her voice was flat and unhappy. Hyunwoo shook his head. She's terrified of the Federation. She thinks they'll imprison her or force her to reveal her people's location. She's probably right, Dohyun added quietly. The Federation doesn't have a great record with newly discovered species, especially ones that seem to have advanced technology. Jiwon stared at the message again. She had spent her career following orders, but these orders felt wrong. Kira had done nothing to deserve imprisonment. She was a survivor, not a threat. She had already told them that her people were peaceful scientists who avoided contact with other species, specifically because they feared situations like this. What are our options? Soman asked. We follow orders, Jiwon said, though she didn't sound convinced. We're military officers. We don't get to pick which orders we like. What if we said there were technical problems? Soman suggested. Engine trouble, maybe. Something that would delay our arrival. That would be lying to a superior officer, Jiwon pointed out. To protect an innocent person, Hyunwoo said. Sometimes the right thing to do isn't the same as following orders. Jiwon looked around the table at her officers. These people had served with her for 2 years. She trusted them completely, and she could see that they all felt the same way about this situation. None of them wanted to hand Kira over to people who would treat her like a prisoner or a resource to be exploited. If we disobey these orders, it's court-martial for all of us, she warned. End of careers, possible prison time. Are you all willing to risk that for someone we've known for 2 weeks? The answers came immediately. Yes, from Soman. Absolutely, from Hyunwoo. Without question. From Dohyun, Jiwon felt proud of her crew and worried about their futures at the same time. All right. Soman, can you create a believable engine problem? I can make our fusion reactor develop a plasma leak, Soman said with a slight smile. Very dangerous. We'll need to stop for repairs at the nearest uninhabited system. How long can you make the repairs take? A week, maybe 2 if I'm careful about it. Do it, Jiwon decided. But first I need to talk to Kira. She needs to know what's happening. Jiwon found Kira in the observation lounge looking out at the stars. Since her recovery, Kira had spent hours here watching the galaxy pass by. She said it helped her feel less isolated from her people. Kira, we need to talk, Jiwon said gently. Kira turned, and Jiwon could see worry in her diamond-bright eyes. It is about your orders, yes? You must take me to the Federation. How did you know? I have learned to read human expressions, Kira said. You have been troubled for days, and I know how military organizations work. Someone with authority has given you commands you do not like. Jiwon sat down beside her. My government wants me to hand you over to Federation authorities. They say it's for diplomatic processing, but you think it is really for interrogation? Kira finished. You think they will try to force me to reveal my people's location and secrets? I think you're right to be worried about that, Jiwon admitted. The Federation has rules about peaceful contact, but they don't always follow them when they think they can gain something valuable. Kira was quiet for a moment, looking back out at the stars. What will you do? We're going to buy some time, Jiwon said. My engineer is going to create a fake mechanical problem that will delay our trip to the Federation station. It will give us a chance to figure out a better solution. You would disobey your orders to protect me? Kira asked, sounding surprised. We would, Jiwon confirmed. All of us. We won't let them turn you into a prisoner. Kira's crystal skin began to glow brighter, which Jiwon had learned meant she was feeling strong emotions. Why, I am not your responsibility. I am not even your species. If you disobey orders to protect me, you will be punished. Because it's the right thing to do, Jiwon said simply. Because you trust us and we won't betray that trust. Your people are remarkable, Kira said softly. Most species would follow orders rather than risk punishment for a stranger. Maybe, but we're not most species. Over the next few days, as Soman worked on creating their fake engine problem, the crew continued to treat Kira as a friend rather than a prisoner. This amazed her more each day. She watched how they interacted with each other and with her, always with respect and kindness. When Taehyung, one of the junior engineers, was injured in an accident while helping Soman with the fake repairs, the entire crew's response fascinated Kira. Everyone stopped what they were doing to help. The captain herself carried medical supplies to the injured man. The ship's schedule was completely forgotten until they knew he would be okay. One person was hurt, and everyone helped, Kira observed to Hyunwoo as he treated Taehyung's broken arm. Of course, Hyunwoo said, as if it was obvious. He's one of us. We take care of each other. But there are 25 people on this ship. Why does one person matter so much? Hyunwoo looked at her with surprise. Every person matters. Every life has value. We don't leave people behind, and we don't ignore suffering when we can help. This philosophy continued to amaze Kira. When she mentioned that the food synthesizers couldn't create the specific nutrients her crystal body needed, Salmon immediately gave up her own food rations to provide the extra energy needed to modify the system. When Kira mentioned missing the songs of her people, the crew worked together to create recordings of crystal-like music that helped her feel less homesick. You give so much of yourselves for others, Kira told Jiwon one evening. Do you never think about what you lose by being so generous? What do we lose? Jiwon asked. A little food, a little time, a little effort. What do we gain? We help someone who needed help. We make a friend. We do something good in a galaxy that has too much selfishness and cruelty. But you are risking your careers for me, Kira pointed out. Your admiral will be angry when he discovers you disobeyed orders. Admiral Minho is a good man, Jiwon said. When he understands the full situation, I think he'll support what we did. And if he doesn't, then we'll face the consequences. But we'll face them knowing we did the right thing. Kira began to understand that this wasn't unusual behavior for humans. This was simply who they were. They helped others because they believed it was right, not because they expected rewards. They protected the weak because they had the strength to do so, not because they were ordered to. Your species gives me hope, Kira told the assembled crew one evening during their communal dinner. For most of my life, I believed that the galaxy was full of predators and prey, the strong taking from the weak, the many oppressing the few. But you have shown me that there is another way. You have shown me that strength can be used to protect rather than to conquer. You're giving us too much credit, Jiwon said with a smile. Humans aren't perfect. We make mistakes, we have conflicts, we sometimes do terrible things to each other, but we try to be better than our worst impulses. That is what makes you remarkable, Kira replied. Not perfection, but the desire to improve. Not the absence of selfishness, but the choice to be generous despite it. The fake engine problems gave them 2 weeks of extra time. But eventually, even Soman's creativity reached its limits. Admiral Minho's messages were becoming more demanding, and soon they would have no choice but to report to the Federation station. What happens now? Kira asked as they prepared to resume course. Now we trust that doing the right thing will work out somehow, Jiwon said. We'll face whatever comes next together. But privately, Jiwon was worried. Admiral Minho was not known for his patience, and disobeying direct orders was a serious offense. When he discovered what they had done, there would be consequences. She just hoped those consequences wouldn't also fall on Kira. The alien woman had suffered enough already. She deserved protection, not more fear and uncertainty. Somehow Jiwon would find a way to give her that protection, even if it cost her own career. That was what humans did. They protected those who couldn't protect themselves regardless of the cost. Admiral Minho's ship was waiting for them when the Soul's Pride arrived at Federation Station Tau 7. Jiwon had never seen the Admiral this angry before. His face was red as he stormed into her conference room, followed by 2 Federation security officers and a woman Jiwon didn't recognize. Captain Park, Admiral Minho said, his voice cold and formal. You are 3 weeks late and have ignored multiple direct orders. Explain yourself. Jiwon stood at attention, but her voice was steady. We experienced technical difficulties, sir. Engine problems that required extended repairs? Engine problems, the Admiral repeated. Problems that your engineer somehow forgot to report in detail. Problems that mysteriously fixed themselves just in time for you to arrive here. The woman beside him stepped forward. She was tall and thin, with the kind of pale skin that suggested she spent most of her time on space stations rather than planets. I am Director Chen of the Federation Diplomatic Corps. We are here to collect the alien specimen your ship recovered. Specimen? Jiwon felt her anger rising. She's not a specimen. She's an intelligent being with rights. She's an undocumented alien from an unknown species, Director Chen replied coldly. According to Federation law, she must be properly processed and evaluated before any decisions can be made about her status. Admiral Minho looked tired suddenly. Captain, just turn her over to them. You've already caused enough problems. No, sir, Ji-won said quietly. The Admiral's eyes widened. Excuse me? I said no, sir. I won't turn her over to people who see her as a specimen rather than a person. Captain Park, you are relieving yourself of command, Admiral Minho said, his voice dangerous. Security. Place her under arrest for disobeying direct orders. The Federation security officers stepped forward, but before they could reach Ji-won, the conference room door opened. Kira walked in, followed by Somin, Hyunwoo, and Do-hyun. Kira had asked them to help her prepare for this moment. She wore a simple white dress that Somin had made for her, and her crystal skin glowed with calm, steady light. She looked dignified and beautiful, definitely not like a specimen. You must be the alien, Director Chen said, looking at Kira with obvious curiosity. I am Director Chen. You will come with us for processing. I will not, Kira said clearly. Her English had improved greatly during her time with the humans. I am Kira of the Valerian Collective. I'm a free person, not property to be processed. Director Chen frowned. You don't understand the situation. You are in Federation space without proper documentation. You must be evaluated to determine if you pose a threat. I understand perfectly, Kira replied. You want to interrogate me to learn about my people. You want to discover our location and our technology. You see me as an opportunity for gain rather than as a person deserving respect. Admiral Minho stared at Kira, then at Ji-won. Captain, what have you told her? Only the truth, sir, Ji-won said. That the Federation doesn't have a good record with newly discovered species. That's enough, Director Chen snapped. Security detained both of them. But as the security officers moved forward, Kira did something unexpected. She began to sing. It was not like human singing. The sound came from her crystal body itself, a complex harmony that seemed to fill the air with light and warmth. The security officers stopped, transfixed by the beautiful alien music. I invoke the right of testimony, Kira sang, her voice carrying clearly throughout the station. I demand to speak before the Federation Council about the treatment I have received and the choices I must make. Director Chen looked confused. The right of testimony? That's an ancient procedure. It hasn't been used in centuries. But it is still valid Federation law, came a new voice from the doorway. A woman entered the conference room, wearing the formal robes of a Federation Council member. She was human with graying hair and intelligent eyes. Counselor Nara, Admiral Minho said, looking surprised. I didn't know you were on the station. I arrived this morning, Counselor Nara said. When I heard about this unusual situation, I decided to observe personally. She looked at Kira with respect. The right of testimony is indeed still valid. Any sentient being has the right to address the Council before major decisions affecting their future are made. Director Chen looked angry. This is highly irregular. We have procedures for first contact situations, and those procedures include the right of testimony, Counselor Nara said firmly. The Council will hear her testimony in 1 hour. The Federation Council chamber was impressive, with representatives from dozens of species sitting in curved rows around a central speaking area. Kira had never seen so many different kinds of beings in one place. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien. When her turn came to speak, Kira walked to the center of the chamber with dignity. Her crystal skin glowed softly as she began her testimony. Honored council members, she began, I am Kira of the Valerian Collective. 3 months ago, my ship crashed on a hostile planet. My crewmates died and I was left alone, slowly dying in a failing life support pod. She paused, looking around the chamber. Many of the council members were leaning forward, interested in her story. I was found by humans, she continued. Captain Ji-won and her crew could have left me to die. They could have taken what they wanted from my ship and departed. Instead, they saved my life. Murmurs went around the chamber. First contact situations usually involved suspicion and careful negotiations, not immediate rescue. These humans asked for nothing in return, Kira said. They did not demand information about my people or our technology. They did not threaten me or try to use me for their own purposes. They simply helped because I needed help. Director Chen stood up. The alien's gratitude is understandable but irrelevant. We need to know if her species poses a threat to Federation security. My people are not a threat, Kira said clearly. We are scientists and artists. We study the stars and create beautiful things. We have avoided contact with the galaxy because we feared exactly this kind of treatment. Then why are you here now? Asked a council member with blue-scaled skin. Kira looked directly at the questioner. Because these humans showed me that not all species are motivated by greed and fear. They showed me that strength can be used to protect rather than to conquer. They gave me hope that there might be others in the galaxy who value kindness over power. She turned to face Counselor Nara. I formally request that Earth become the protector of the Valerian Collective. I ask that all contact with my people go through human representatives who have proven themselves worthy of trust. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. This was unprecedented. New species usually requested Federation protection or remained independent. No one had ever requested protection from a specific member species. Admiral Minho looked shocked. Kira, you can't make that kind of decision for your entire species. I can and I do, Kira replied. I am the survivor of the Astral Dawn. I am the first of my people to encounter humans and therefore the first to recognize their true nature. My people will understand when I explain what these humans did for me. Director Chen was angry. This is absurd. Humans are a relatively new Federation member. They don't have the resources or experience to protect an entire species. They have something more valuable than resources, Kira said. They have compassion. They have the strength to do what is right even when it costs them personally. She gestured toward where Jiwan and her crew sat in the observer section. Captain Jiwan disobeyed orders to protect me from interrogation. Dr. Hyunwoo worked day and night to heal injuries he had never seen before. Engineer Soman gave up her own food to help modify systems for my survival. Scientist Do-hyun studied my biology with respect rather than greed. The chamber was quiet now, all attention focused on Kira. These humans risk their careers to protect one alien stranger, she continued. If they will do that for someone they barely knew, what will they do for allies they have sworn to protect? Counselor Nara stood up. The council must deliberate this unusual request. We will reconvene in 2 hours to announce our decision. As the council members filed out, Jiwan approached Kira. Are you sure about this? You're asking your people to trust humans based on what a few of us did. I am sure, Kira said, her crystal skin glowing brighter. My people have been hiding for centuries because we feared the galaxy was full of predators. But you have shown me that there are also protectors. You have given me hope that we can join the larger community without losing ourselves. What if the council says no? Soman asked. Then I will find another way to protect my people, Kira said simply. But I believe the council will understand. Even among Federation species, humans are developing a reputation for helping others. They will see the wisdom in my choice. 2 hours later, they had their answer. By a narrow margin, the Federation Council approved Kira's request. Earth would become the official protector of the Valerian Collective, with all contact going through human diplomatic channels. Director Chen looked disgusted as she left the chamber, but Counselor Nara smiled as she approached their group. Congratulations, she told Jiwan. You're about to become humanity's first interspecies diplomatic officer. Admiral Minho still looked stunned by everything that had happened. Captain Park, you realize this changes everything? Humanity now has responsibility for an entire alien species.